welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Obadi. President Muhammadu Buhari is in New York this week to attend the 72nd United Nations General Assembly. It's a big deal because it would be his first international trip since returning home from a medical vacation in London. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema, who is already in New York, says the president will lead the delegation to the assembly. While in New York, President Buhari is expected to hold a number of bilateral meetings on the side of the assembly. Plus, there would be a lunch meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, with whom he's spoken with once on the phone. Remember that phone call that took place back in February when both leaders discussed collaboration in the fight against terrorism, and President Trump encouraged President Buhari to keep up the good work, commending him for the rescues made so far of the Chibok girls. It was a very brief phone call, but it did highlight how important Nigeria-U.S. relations are. President Buhari was the first leader in sub-Saharan Africa that President Trump spoke to after he came into the White House. And you can see how important America takes her relations with Nigeria. Just a few weeks ago, the largest U.S. congressional delegation to Africa, led by Democratic Senator from Milwaukee, Christopher Coons, was here meeting with leaders in Nigeria's business community. His message was clear. Nigeria is important to America, and no matter what happens, they will do everything to preserve that relationship. Back to this meeting President Buhari will be having with President Trump. Global issues will be on the table, trade issues with Africa, and conflict on the continent. And if you're still worried about the president's health, the Minister of Foreign Affairs says during a news conference at the UN that the president is in very good health to lead the UN General Assembly delegation. He brought the President's Executive Council meeting on Wednesday, which he said lasted longer than usual, over which the President presided. He has no doubt the President will participate in all the events scheduled for the country. The President is in excellent health, he says. Let's check in on other discussions in diplomatic circles. We'll be right back. The International Organization for Migration has warned there could be a humanitarian disaster among the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh. Senior Media and Communication Officer Christopher Loam says a plan is needed to relocate the makeshift settlement between Balukali and Kutupalong very quickly because of deteriorating conditions there.
Well, there's now an estimated 409,000 people who've come across in the last 3 weeks. It's essential that we move ahead as quickly as we possibly can with the government's plan to allocate an area between Balukali and Kutupalong makeshift settlements, existing settlements. And I think all the agencies, all the international agencies, need to move very, very quickly to get these people out of a very vulnerable situation because clearly the combination of this weather and dirty water and lack of food and lack of a safe place to shelter is going to be bring about a humanitarian disaster unless we act very, very quickly.
Hundreds of Turks took to the streets on Sunday to protest against an independence referendum in northern Iraq on September 25th. Turkey, the United States and other Western powers have advised Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdish region to cancel the vote over worries that tensions between Baghdad and Erbil would distract from the war on Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. With the largest Kurdish population in the region, Turkey fears that a yes vote would fuel separatism in its southeast, where the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party militants have waged an insurgency for 3 decades. Despite the requests and concerns, Kurdish leader Masoud Barzani says the referendum will go ahead as planned. Palestinian Islamist Hamas group has dissolved its administration that runs Gaza and has agreed to hold general elections in order to end a long-running feud with President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah movement. The last Palestinian legislative election was held in 2006, when Hamas scored a surprise victory, which laid the ground for a political rupture. Hamas and Fatah fought a short civil war in Gaza in 2007, and since then, Hamas has governed the small coastal enclave. Numerous attempts since 2011 to reconcile the two movements and form a power-sharing unity government in Gaza and the West Bank have so far failed. Hamas and Fatah agreed in 2014 to form a national reconciliation government. But despite that agreement, Hamas's shadow government has continued to rule the Gaza Strip.